Hello, when Russia sent troops to attack Ukraine, many people wondered, will China attack Taiwan? Or furthermore, take military actions to occupy the waters, which the country considers its 9-dash line. Let's analyze whether this possibility is easy to happen or not. Russia's attack on Ukraine has raised concerns that the world is returning to a Cold War-like period in which the most powerful countries vie for dominance. That means that not only Russia will exercise control over Eastern Europe, but also China will seek to dominate East Asia and Southeast Asia, especially Taiwan. China has claimed Taiwan since the island was under the administration of the Republic of China led by Chiang Kai-shek. Since then, both Taiwan and mainland China have considered themselves as China, and the other half belongs to them. Currently, the Taiwan issue remains China's top priority. Specifically, during the meeting between Mr. Xi and Mr. Putin before the Ukraine war, the issue of Taiwan was also discussed, and after Russia attacked Ukraine, Chinese officials continued to talk about resolving the Taiwan issue. In a phone call with President Biden about the Russian invasion, Chinese leader Xi Jinping appeared to care more about Taiwan than the war in Ukraine. So will China attack Taiwan or not? The answer is possible, but China is in no hurry. Currently, China is still watching the Russia-Ukraine war to draw experience for itself. Russia is still struggling to contain Ukraine, now that the West's swiftness to punish and isolate Russia because of its war will make major rising powers skeptical of the possibility of a similar invasion, making China must reconsider its reasons for hitting Taiwan. China, after all, has benefited from the relatively peaceful world order of recent decades, becoming America's only real economic rival as the world has become increasingly integrated. An invasion of Taiwan could disrupt that order and potentially isolate China from the global economy, as Russia's experience has shown. So what happens in Taiwan will likely be influenced by what happens in Ukraine. If Russia succeeds in breaking through Ukraine, that would increase the risk for Taiwan, but if Russia eventually withdraws or suffers damaging long-term consequences, that could be good news for the island of Taiwan. Taiwan, an island of nearly 24 million people with a strong liberal democracy, is a dear friend of the United States. It is the only Asian government that legally allows same-sex marriage and a modern economy. Taiwan does not expect that it can completely defeat China's powerful military, especially without direct help from the United States. Instead, Taiwan uses a different strategy that instead of trying to defeat China, Taiwan will try to make China see how costly and damaging it would be if war broke out for China to give up intent to attack. The war in Ukraine has shown how this can happen. By American estimates, the Ukrainian resistance was fiercer than anyone expected, killing thousands of Russian soldiers. Surveys in Ukraine show that 80% of the locals are willing to make sacrifices to defend their sovereignty, while previous polls in Taiwan also showed that 3/4 of the population are willing to resist a Chinese invasion. Thus, if China attacks, fierce and strong resistance is what it will face. The West's sweeping sanctions against Russia also suggest that an invasion of Taiwan could cause economic harm to China. Along with the weapons being shipped to Ukraine, the sanctions show that Western countries are willing to support their allies. Western resolve could go further in Taiwan, with the possibility that U.S. forces would intervene directly against an invasion. Mr. Biden said, "The U.S. military won't go to war in Ukraine, but the U.S. has a different relationship with Taiwan. But if it really attacks Taiwan, China will have much stronger points than Russia. The first is that its economy is much larger and more diversified, lessening the damage that sanctions can do. Countries that will impose sanctions on China, from the US to European nations to Japan, often depend more on trade with China than on trade with Russia." Second, unlike Ukraine, Ukraine is an independent country and Taiwan is not, so a Chinese attack on Taiwan may not be seen as an invasion. Third, China also has a vast advantage militarily with about 1 million active ground troops compared with 88,000 in Taiwan, a much larger disparity between Russia and Ukraine. Fourth, China has plenty of time to observe Western reactions to Russia and draw lessons for itself. With these 4 advantages, it is very likely that China will attack Taiwan after analyzing the benefits from the Russia-Ukraine war, especially if Russia wins. The possibility of Taiwan being attacked is even higher, and most likely there will be attacks to occupy the entire Paracels, Spratlys, and the so-called Cow's Tongue line. Hopefully there will be no such wars so that people can live in peace. Thank you for watching the video. Goodbye, and see you again.